Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's workshop. I'm very excited to welcome you. My name is Bella Stevens, and I work at ORAM in the Communications Department. And today we are here for the webinar, Marginalized but Resilient, Global and Intersectional Engagement Opportunities with LGBTIQ Refugees. Today's webinar is hosted by ORAM, the Organisation for Refuge, Asylum and Migration, and Safe Place International. I just wanted to give a quick introduction about the intention of this workshop. It really is a space for you to learn more about both nonprofits and also for us to have an open conversation about easy, accessible pathways for corporations to get involved in supporting nonprofits and particularly LGBT refugees. So just some quick housekeeping rules. If you are currently on the Pathable Summit page of the webinar, you will see that there is a section called poll. If you have any questions for any of the speakers today, if you could just pop your questions in the poll section, that way anyone else who agrees with your question can upvote it. So the top favorite questions can be chosen for the Q&A at the end of the webinar. Also, there's a section called resources, and there we currently have a PDF which talks about both organisations with contact details. And after the webinar, we will upload the slides as well as some additional information about both NGOs. So you can keep an eye on that. And so today we have a great list of speakers, very, very varied, as you can see. And we're excited to welcome all of them and to listen to them. And so without further ado, I will introduce you to our first speaker, CV from Out and Equal.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Bella. Hello, everybody. Welcome to this amazing summit session. My name is CV Viverito. My pronouns are they, them. I am the Deputy Director of Global Programs and Stakeholder Engagement at Out and Equal. And I just wanted to pop on for a few minutes to give a very warm Out and Equal welcome, and then we'll get straight to it. So allow me to take a couple of minutes here to set the context before we dive in. If we're attending this session, we may know, we may not already know, that the global refugee resettlement efforts nearly came to a halt amid the pandemic. Not to mention the US former administration spent its years in office disassembling the refugee program, admitting just over 2,000 refugees between October 1st, 2020 and April 30th, 2021, well short of that administration's previous cap of 15,000, which was very small to begin with. Although the current administration has raised that cap to 62,500, it's made clear that they might not reach that. Agencies need to reopen offices that were forced to close, hire trained new staff, heal broken relationships with local organizations, landlords, employers, all while taking into account safety concerns, new social distancing protocols, etc. Of course, we know that among these refugees and asylum seekers are LGBTQI folks. And unfortunately, many countries around the world face severe discrimination and violence. About 69 countries criminalize consensual same-sex relationships, but even in countries without criminalization, many still don't offer enough protections. And unfortunately, folks are faced with the only viable option to flee those countries, leaving support systems and loved ones behind in search of a safer and better life. So what we're facing in this moment that we're living is really a stress test of our systems that affect the lives of so many. As I mentioned, resettlement agencies are not only needing to rebuild community partnerships, train, recruit volunteers, find landlords, but amidst this competitive job market, they also need to re-engage and foster healthy relationships with employers. The pipeline of talented, more than capable refugees and asylum seekers continues to grow. It intersects with many LGBTQI people from around the world. So now's the time to prepare our companies to seize the moment and find opportunities for growth. This is, after all, a global human issue, not just a government policy problem. So I encourage us during this conversation today, when we talk about DEI efforts, we must ask ourselves also, are we considering every intersection of who we are? When we talk about wanting to diversify our thinking, our skill sets within our businesses, to track towards greater innovation and growth, how can we ensure that those opportunities are inclusive for refugees? Are our structures set up to support them? And of course, how can we partner with organizations that work to provide such employment opportunities, like the wonderful organizations leading this panel today? So here with us to talk about this and more are a few close friends and partners who have an amplitude of knowledge, expertise, and experience to shed light on this important area of workplace inclusion efforts. On a personal note, also including Steve Roth, Executive Director of ORAM, who, near and dear to my heart, worked with me at Out and Equal when I started. So this is such a lovely full circle moment for me to be on a panel with you again, Steve, and super happy to have Justin and Josh with us here as well. And on yet another personal note, on behalf of Out and Equal as well, we're also extremely honored to have Celeste Berry, who serves on the board of both ORAM and Safe Place International, and of course is the very founder of Out and Equal. So without her leadership, we quite literally would not be here right now having this conversation. So it is a pleasure to introduce Celeste herself to share a very important message with us, and I will pass it back over to the team to get us started. Thank you all for being here.
Well, hello. I am so thrilled to be here with all of you today. I'm Celeste Berry, and I am the founder of Out and Equal Workplace Advocates. And today I'm thrilled to be kicking off this important conversation around LGBTQ refugees around the world. I want to just take a moment to acknowledge and thank Erin and Isabel and all the amazing people at Out and Equal for supporting this conversation and for the work that they do all year around LGBT workplace equality, and certainly putting on an amazing Out and Equal Summit during the pandemic. So thank you for that. So yeah, you might be asking yourself, how did Celeste go from being the CEO of Out and Equal to working with LGBTQ refugees? Well, I'm glad you asked that. After I stepped down as CEO, I wasn't exactly sure what the next frontier would be. And a lot of things changed in my life, including going through a divorce and lots of loss and lots of grief and lots of changes. And I got a call out of the blue from a friend who said, let's go to Greece and teach English to refugees. And without even hesitating, I said, okay, I'm in. And had this amazing experience, mostly with women and girls. And I found myself asking around if anyone was doing anything around LGBTQ refugees. And eventually I met this amazing man that you'll be hearing from soon, Justin Hilton. And around the same time, I got a call from a former colleague of Out and Equal, Steve Roth, who is now the CEO of ORAM, the Organization of Refugees and Migrants, asking me to be part of his board and helping with that organization. So I've now spent quite a bit of time, except of course during COVID, with many of the refugees in Greece. We work with folks in Greece, Nairobi, in Kenya, in Tijuana in Mexico, and other places around the world. But what I have found over and over, it came from a place of, I felt like I'd lost so much in my life, and I thought, I'm just gonna, spend time with people that really have lost everything. And it's true, they have lost so much. And yet what they haven't lost is resiliency. These people are the most resilient and gracious and thankful people I have been around. And they have given me such joy. And I feel like we do this Dream Academy with them on a pretty regular basis, where they have a chance on Zoom from all over the world to talk about their issues and their trauma, but also eventually over a several week period to begin to look at the workplace and to learn more about how presentation skills and leadership skills, etc. Many of the things that overlap with the work that we do at Out and Equal. So I'm just thrilled to be able to kick off this conversation, to be a part of this important work. These are our people. They're not they. Probably many of you on the call either are or have been refugees at one point in our lives. It's just a new reality of people on the move and people being displaced. And the LGBTQ refugees and asylum seekers that both Safe Place International and ORAM work with are part of our community. And I know you know that, and I'm just thrilled to be part of both these organizations and part of this day today. Thank you. Well, hello.
Hello, greetings everyone. My name is Edith Mats Josh. My pronoun is he, they, and I'm a refugee father living in Nairobi. Have been in Nairobi for over 6 years. I'm the livelihoods officer at Trafsire, and I'm the deputy ED at FLBQR. I'm presenting the community I help in decision making. We are over 1,500 refugees living here in Nairobi. And we are from different countries. We are from Uganda, Congo, Burundi, Rwanda, Somalia, and others. We are here in Nairobi because the Kenyan policy allows LGBT and queer people to live here. We are in Nairobi, not in the camp. Living in Nairobi, it's a very hard and difficult experience. We face very many challenges in this movement. And these challenges as follow. One, earning money is a very big problem because of the Kenyan policies and the documentations. We come from different countries whereby when a problem comes, you're unaware that this problem is coming. So you just run, you leave everything behind, no documentation, no identification, and you're coming in another country. So it's a very big problem and a challenge. The other thing is that being a refugee, you live, UNHCR process of resettlement takes 4 to 8 years and above. For a refugee to get proper documentation, therefore having a stable job to sustain yourself is a problem. And with this, at least you'll get documentation at the last year of your resettlement. So at the last stage, so you'll have no job. Here in Kenya, the main language is Swahili. Language is a problem. You'll take 3 to 5 years to learn the language. And still by the time you're learning the language, you're being resettled to another country. I'm a trans man, and to us, it's a very big challenge whereby we are being raped by men. Sometimes we are gang raped, and it's really worse. It's really traumatizing, whereby these men are trying to prove to us that however much you're a trans man, you'll never be. You call yourself a trans man, you'll never be. We face other problems of insecurities. Using the means of transport here, it's a bit overwhelming, whereby nobody cares. We are being isolated. They look onto our genders. It's really a big problem. And still when it comes to accessing medical attention in hospitals, still the doctors and the nurses sometimes are very harsh. They look about our identities. They'll refuse to give you medical attention because you're queer. Being a queer parent, it's also very different here. Everyone is busy judging us and questioning why you are a parent. We give birth because of very many avoidable circumstances. It can be because of family. It can be because of rape. We are bisexuals. It can be the society pressure and also need to seek acceptance. That's why we are parents, but the society will never accept this. I'm the livelihoods officer here in Nairobi. We do trainings which are being supported by funders like ORAM and Safe Places International. But the government policy here still in Nairobi, it states that all businesses have to be owned by Kenyan citizens, which leaves our businesses at a risk. We are always at a risk whereby anytime we are going to lose our businesses because they are being owned by Kenyan citizens and yet they are funded by queer funders. our strength through all these challenges in the movement, funders like ORAM have really played a very big part here in Nairobi. We have over 18 queer CBOs. So ORAM has helped us by providing skills training through sessions, business mentorships, like Salesforce. With this Salesforce, we have been able at least to get very many business trainings, business management, digital management, skills marketing. And with this, at least you leave home when you're a doctor, you come here, you have to accept, yes, I'm a doctor and I'll never be a doctor in this country because I'm an asylum seeker. So with these trainings, at least with the business trainings, we are able at least to get jobs. With this, at least like with the business management skills, we are able to work and earn as we are waiting for our resettlement. ORAM has also helped us with seed fundings, that's capital, food relief, medical reliefs, and many more. And we also have safe places. They have also supported us through Dream Academy with the leadership training skills, counseling, knowing our worth, reminding us that being a refugee is not the end of the world, but there are very many opportunities around us. We have been able to take our place in decision-making, leadership positions. What really matters is that we build back our confidence, self-esteem, passion, and the ability to communicate clearly and effectively. This year, we were over 140 graduates, and I was one of the graduates. And next year, Dream Academy will be having over 600 graduates next year. Thank you so much for listening to me. And I would wish to call upon Steve, the director of ORAM. Thank you so much.
All right, just getting settled here. Well, hey, everyone. Wow, tough act to follow there, but just so important for us to be able to really start with the voices of the people that we serve, and really why we're here today, which are amazing folks like Josh in Nairobi. And yeah, following the founder of Out and Equal as well. Not an easy act, but I'm glad to do it. Hey, everyone, I am Steve Roth. I am the executive director of ORAM, Organization for Refuge, Asylum, and Migration. Amazing to be here with you all today. As you heard earlier, I also am the former senior director of global initiatives at Out and Equal, and probably the single best thing I did in that role was to hire CV, who is just this amazing individual who has now really taken Out and Equal's global work to new levels. And it's just, it's super exciting to be able to share this space with them again, and to be back here with Celise and with our friends at Safe Place International, Justin and Sherry, and with my colleague Bella, and most of all of you. I know that there's a lot of content to choose from. The Summit Week is just packed and intense, and we're really honored that you chose to be here with us today. So we have a lot to cover, so I'm just going to jump right in. I want to tell you a little bit more about ORAM and then our work, and then opportunities, what it means for you all, and how you can potentially engage with us and support queer refugees. So ORAM is the oldest international nonprofit focused exclusively on the safety and empowerment of LGBTQ refugees and asylum seekers around the world. We've been around for about 13 years. Our main focus is in what we call transit countries. So these are after people have left their country of origin, the place that they're fleeing from, but before they've reached a resettlement country like the US. And our mission is really to help people lead better lives, both where they are, and because it takes a long time to get resettlement. Some folks never get resettled, but supporting them where they are, and also supporting them along their journey. And as you've heard both from CV and from Josh, that queer refugees really exist at the intersection of many margins. Most of the folks we work with are people of color. You know, by definition, they're all migrants or foreigners. They're in a foreign country. They often have have language issues, do not speak the same languages. And on top of that, they're lesbian, gay, bisexual, trans, intersex, and it makes for an incredibly difficult life. But at the same time, and as you heard Celise say, we've also just found that members of the community are really some of the most authentic and resilient and inspiring people you can imagine. I mean, if you think about just what it takes to the commitment to your own identity and authenticity, to be willing to leave everything you've got to go pursue a better life and a safer life in another country. That's what it's all about. As I mentioned, we do work in transit countries. So a lot of our work happens in Kenya, where Josh is. We started working a couple of years ago on the US-Mexico border. We have a lot of asylum seekers coming overland, trying to reach the US. We historically did a lot of work in Turkey, which is another transit country, and we've done some pilots with Safe Place in Greece and supported some of their work there. And we're even starting some work in Uganda, because believe it or not, there are even LGBTQ refugees in Uganda. So to shift over and tell you a little bit more about what we do. Next slide. Like I mentioned, we help people live better lives where they are, and we support them along their journey. One of our big programmatic areas are what we call our economic empowerment programs. And you heard Josh talk about people, refugees having to leave everything behind, start a new life, and before they can do anything else, just like all of us, kind of Maslow's hierarchy of needs, people need to be able to eat, and they need to be able to have a roof over their heads and be safe. And unfortunately, being a refugee makes that very difficult. Not only is there a huge amount of discrimination against LGBTQ people, but there are also oftentimes laws prevent refugees from being able to work legally. And so this is where micro businesses and economic empowerment programs come into play. The goal of them is really sustainability, to help refugees both be able to create sustainable incomes and also to learn those skills that they need. Some of the things you heard Josh talking about to take with them on resettlement and better their lives. And this is a really key program of ours, but we actually, I'm going to show you just a little bit with some more information about some of the programs we serve, including a great soap making business in the Kakuma refugee camp in northern Kenya. And that business is called Kakuma Clean. So that's coming up. Another area, key area connected really to economic empowerment is the training and education and capacity building. And again, you heard Josh mention this as well, but a lot of what we do is providing skills that are really cross-cutting skills that will both support folks in what they're doing right now and growing those businesses, but also preparing them for their future in a resettlement country. So things like financial literacy, entrepreneurship, digital literacy, digital marketing, and we've actually found some great ways to engage with corporations on that in providing some of those trainings. We'll talk about that a little bit more when we talk about engagement opportunities. We offer English language classes to asylum seekers on the Mexico-U.S. border, preparing them for their journey into the U.S. and also support in sort of soft skills, things from interviewing and resume and CV writing, and again. Everything that folks will need both where they are and to prepare them for their journeys. And when we talk about capacity building, something big that we do there is really helping the community develop tools and skills that they need to be able to organize and advocate for themselves. So this is things like fundraising and grant writing and report writing and know your rights skills, all again important as the community really becomes autonomous and advocates for themselves. Next slide, please. So, in the meantime, unfortunately, it's not always enough and often not enough as we're getting the livelihoods programs up and running to get people through the challenging times. And this is especially the case in COVID. And so we also provide direct assistance when there are emergency needs in areas like medical, food deliveries, paying rent at times when the community is not able to pay rent. And we certainly did a lot of outreach during COVID, providing basic PPE, sanitizer, gloves, things to help keep people safe. As you can imagine, being in a refugee camp or in a safe house, shelters, social distancing can be difficult, and even basic sanitation can be difficult. And so there's been a huge need that we've really leaned in to support as well. And the next slide. And then the final piece, really helping people on their journey, because again, refugees are folks on the move. We have a legal program. We provide legal support. Most recently, we've been offering support for asylum seekers on the U.S. border, preparing them to present their cases to U.S. immigration authorities. Advocacy on behalf of the community more broadly. We've been doing some very recently in the last couple of months on the plight of LGBTQ Afghan refugees, and advocating with the administration, the Biden administration, the State Department, to provide some expedited resettlement routes. And speaking of resettlement more broadly, and CV mentioned this, that under the new administration there, we're hopeful that there is going to be more chance for resettlement. The administration has said it's a priority, that LGBTQ refugees and asylum seekers are priorities. And so we plan to be engaging more on expedited resettlement for the community as well. So again, we're trying to keep things really moving. We've got a lot to cover. So I'm going to pause there, and actually we have a video now just to show you introduce you to a couple of our partners and some of the people we serve. So take it away. Sherry, I think we're having some sound issues with the video.
And integration with the local. In the 200,000 refugees are the LGBTQ asylum seekers who are also in Kakuma refugee camp, and who are facing enormous challenges in terms of security, protection, and integration with the local refugee population. Not just the local refugee population, but also with the host community. And because of these challenges, they find it very difficult to earn a living here in the camp. There are no opportunities available for them because they are branded as a caste population, as people who should not be given any opportunities here in the camp. Now here's where Kakuma Cleans come in. Kakuma Cleans comes in to provide opportunities for these young people, energetic people, talented young people, and most of them, some of them very well educated, with skills and opportunities and talents to be able to turn their lives around. And so at Kakuma Cleans, we try to encourage them and to train them in the soap making so that they are able to provide soap to the general refugee population. But not just providing soap. The unique thing about this soap is that it is handmade, and because it's handmade, it has less production cost, and due to that, they are able to produce soap products which can be sold at a very affordable prices to the general population here in the camp. Just to note is that average refugee here in the camp earns at least $1 a week, and that makes it very difficult for them to afford hygiene products like soap, and more especially at this corona period.
This project was founded by ORAM through Refugee Coalition of East Africa. We found poultry farming to be easier to do since we had enough space, and it kept us more inside the safe house, mostly for our transgender members. This has really improved in our living. We use money from the sales to cater for medical emergencies, that is food, and sometimes to add on our rent.
Pues principalmente lo que me puso a dejar mi país es la discriminación, la homofobia, el rechazo que sufrimos toda la comunidad LGBTI en los países centroamericanos. Pues principalmente, ¿qué me da esperanza en este momento? Alcanzar mi sueño americano, por el que he venido luchando día a día, mes a mes, año con año, a través de cruzar barreras, obstáculos, enfrentarme a nuevas sociedades, enfrentarme a un país nuevo para mí. Ha sido una gran barrera. Este ha sido mi peor y principal obstáculo, pero aquí estoy, firme, de pie, para enfrentar lo que venga de ahora en adelante, todo por alcanzar mi gran sueño americano.
Great. So hopefully you're feeling inspired by and motivated by the challenges, but also the opportunities here to engage and support these folks who are, as Celeste said, who are us. They're members of our community. They're just some of the more invisible members, but some that certainly need our engagement and support. And so shifting over, what is in this for corporations and ERGs and individuals? What does it mean? I've seen in the polls already in the questions, what can we do? Well, one thing I will say that I constantly hear from my friends in the corporate sector and running ERGs is that people are looking for more meaningful engagement, more opportunities. We're way beyond the days of just cocktail parties and pride events. Not that there's anything wrong with either of those, but how can we really make an impact? An impact that people can see and feel, and where folks' lives are being touched, and that's what working with this community opportunities that it presents. And we're talking about real inclusion as well. And CV said this in their remarks. Who's missing from the conversation? Who's missing from the table? It's often queer refugees and asylum seekers and migrants. And there's a chance and kind of growing awareness of how to engage with these members of our community. And finally, it's really a chance to, I think, differentiate yourselves from perhaps what others around you are doing, and really, if you get to see what we do, the folks that we work with, really inspire yourselves and your teams and anyone that you work with. So next slide, I'm not going to go into detail on this one because we're short on time, but you'll be happy to know that there is actually a business case for working with refugees, just like there is the business case for LGBTQ inclusion in the workplace. There's an organization actually called the Tent Partnership for Refugees, which is focused exclusively. It's founded by Hamdi Ulukaya, the founder of Chobani Yogurt, and they're focused on corporate support for refugees in general. And they've done a lot of research, and you'll can see some of this. You'll have access to our presentation, but why employing refugees, involving refugees in your work is just good business as well. So we have that case study there, but I want to shift over and talk a little bit about engagement opportunities with ORAM specifically, and talk about a few of the companies that we've worked with recently in the last few years. First, let me just say there are different ways to engage with us. Of course, we love checks, we love financial support. Any nonprofit would be lying if they told you that wasn't the case. But we also really love hybrid models. We've been working with a lot of corporations that are getting involved both through some financial support and also through volunteer opportunities of their ERG members and staff. Of course, we also love and welcome just volunteering as well. We're creating opportunities to connect folks with the refugees we serve. And we also have worked with both existing models. If companies have a mentoring model or a tech support model, already in place or creating really bespoke opportunities with companies based on what their needs are and what the refugees' needs are as well. So just to highlight a few of these quick, we've launched a great mentorship program this summer with Salesforce, where they mentored about 30 members of the community in Nairobi. And that is going to be continuing on. We're hoping in another couple of months. We can go on to the next one. We'll just buzz through these quickly. Pipefy is a tech company that automates workflow, and they've, as a starting point, have provided a digital marketing session for the community in Nairobi. I think Josh might have even been part of that. It was volunteer-led, and they're now discussing providing licenses for their technology, both to ORAM and as a prize for a business development contest with the communities. The winner that develops a good plan will get the free licenses. So again, different opportunities built around what their model is. Next slide. We have a great partnership with a boutique LGBT travel company, and they one of the really cool things about this is they do a really great job communicating about us and our work to their members, and their guests have donated over $10,000 to support LGBTQ refugees. And so different ways of engagement. Next slide. And we have traditional sponsorships where companies just want to come in and they want to sponsor an event or an activity, and Novartis, Rhino have done those. Those are great as well. So really engagement at all different levels. And then the final one I wanted to mention, prior to that, I will say I have to mention that we were contracted by Tent Partnership for Refugees to write a guide on corporate mentorship for LGBTQ refugees, and focus specifically on refugees that have already been resettled in places like the US and Canada. And that will be or is available. Companies have committed to mentoring over 1,500 refugees. It's amazing. We can get you more information on that offline. And then the final one I want to mention before getting close to wrapping up here is we've had a really wonderful partnership with JP Morgan through their Force for Good program that we were selected as a recipient for that. And I'm actually going to just turn it over to hear from Simon Cadge from JP Morgan, who's going to talk about that great partnership.
Hello, everyone. I'm Simon Cadge, and I worked with ORAM as part of the JP Morgan Force for Good initiative. Force for Good is an initiative which pairs software engineers with worthy causes, a bunch of charities that have tech problems that need solving. And we as software engineers are able to pick from a list of various causes and tech problems. And ORAM was my first choice, far and away. If you were doing like an improv session and you had to improvise just like a quintessentially good charity, then like an LGBTIQ refugee charity would be pretty high up the list of things you might come up with. Which makes it quite interesting then to actually work with them and see what they're really about on a day-to-day basis. I know what a charity is. I have a conceptual understanding of charities. I know what LGBTIQ persecution is conceptually. And I know that like donating to a charity, that's kind of like a classically charitable thing to do, right? Like that's a thing. You give money to charity and then you're a good person, sort of. But it also feels quite anonymous. I don't know that I really know what any particular charity does. It's this thing that I've never really interacted with that much. And so working with and for ORAM to a certain degree was fascinating. You know, I met the people that do the work. I learned about the work, what the work is. I also practically actually helped with the work. I for that period of time, I worked for the charity, providing them a service that really helped them and benefited them. That charity is now one that I know well and I feel connected to, and it was a really, really worthwhile experience. And yeah, I learned about sort of every level of it, the people that are involved. LGBTIQ persecution is a thing that happens to real people in real places, and I now know some of those real people and places, and I know some of the people that are helping fix the situation and the things that they are practically doing against it. It's not just a a big bad of LGBTIQ persecution. It is these individual people in these individual places, and here's who's helping them. And sort of getting close enough to it to see it at that level was really, really interesting. So that in the sort of conceptual sense is why I thought it was really good, but it was also really good from a whole bunch of practical standpoints. For example, I got to meet lots of really interesting people. I did Force for Good just after I joined JP, which was like full on lockdown mode. So meeting people was not a thing I had very much opportunity to do. And through this JP, not only did I get to meet all of the people from the charity, who were all fascinating, by the way. I'm Simon Cadge, and I worked with ORAM as part of the JP Morgan Force for Good initiative. Force for Good is an initiative which pairs software engineers with worthy causes, a bunch of charities that have tech problems that need solving. And we as software engineers are able to pick from a list of various causes and tech problems. And ORAM was my first choice, far and away. If you were doing like an improv session and you had to improvise just like a quintessentially good charity, then like an LGBTIQ refugee charity would be pretty high up the list. It's this thing that I've never really interacted with that much. And so working with and for ORAM to a certain degree was fascinating. You know, I met the people that do the work. I learned about the work, what the work is. I also practically actually helped with the work. I for that period of time, I worked for the charity, providing them a service that really helped them and benefited them. That charity is now one that I know well and I feel connected to, and it was a really worthwhile experience. And yeah, I learned about sort of every level of it, the people that are involved. LGBTIQ persecution is a thing that happens to real people in real places, and I now know some of those real people and places, and I know some of the people that are helping fix the situation and the things that they are practically doing against it. It's not just a big bad of LGBTIQ persecution. It is these individual people in these individual places, and here's who's helping them. And sort of getting close enough to it to see it at that level was really interesting. So that in the sort of conceptual sense is why I thought it was really good, but it was also really good from a whole bunch of practical standpoints. For example, I got to meet lots of really interesting people. I did Force for Good just after I joined JP, which was like full on lockdown mode. So meeting people was not a thing I had very much opportunity to do. And through this JP, we got to sort of explore the charity together and share our own views and ideas of why it was so important, and it was quite a meaningful experience for all of us, I think. Another thing that was really cool about it, maybe this one's a bit selfish, but I felt like I was really good at
Sorry about that, folks. We're going to leave you hanging with what Simon felt he was really good at. But with the technical difficulties and keeping an eye on time, we're going to wrap that up. It was an amazing partnership. And I just want to close by saying, in terms of engagement opportunities, and we can certainly have some of these conversations offline. But like I said, we are happy to build create opportunities that are either bespoke, built around how folks want to engage and what's available, or if you have existing models, engagement models that you use to partner with nonprofits, we can look at that as well. So my contact information is here, and you'll see it in the chat as well. And I would love to continue the conversation. Just really grateful to you all for being here. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to my friend and colleague, Justin at Safe Place International. Thanks.
Hey, everybody. So glad to be here with you. Steve and I and the team were so moved by how many people were making LGBT refugees a priority. This means so much to us because at one point we had a conversation like this, and what we heard changed our lives, and we're living quite different lives, Steve, Celise, and I now. So thank you, Celise, for your lifetime commitment to inclusion and finding all the ways that has evolved over the years. Thank you, Aaron, for continuing that tradition at Out and Equal. Thank you, Dina, for coming to visit our community and putting your arms around the people that we serve and love so dearly. And CV and Rebecca, thank you for all your work to make this happen. I don't want to keep us on time, so let's go through some slides. Basically, how this all started is LGBTQI refugees were getting murdered on the street. And so the first priority for us was to get them into a safe place. So we started shelters in Istanbul. We started a 5-story shelter there. And then quickly we moved to Athens and started with 1 shelter and quickly grew to 18 shelters. And then, of course, as we mastered protection, and this kind of gives the footprint that both CV and Steve covered of all the places it's illegal and sometimes punishable by death or imprisonment to be LGBTQI. So going on a little bit, as we got people to safety and we established shelters, what we saw is that folks needed all the basic things that you need once you're in a safe place. They needed to feel loved. They needed to feel included. They needed clothes. They needed backpacks. They needed all those things. And one of those things is they needed access to the world, access to content, access to education, access to skills. So that was part of our stabilization pillar. And as we concentrated on stabilization and meeting that next level of needs, what we saw is that once people were getting those skills, they didn't actually have a pathway directly to expressing those in the world, finding a way in the world. And one of the barriers that we found is that even though we developed a lot of educational pathways and we got a lot of content partners, we worked closely with Salesforce, we worked closely with Google, we worked closely with LinkedIn and with a bunch of other partners, that content wasn't being utilized. And what we found as we studied this with Adelphi University and South Florida University is that there was social emotional work that had to happen. And so we began developing around COVID, because we had to develop virtual platforms, a social emotional learning program that evolved into a leadership program. And as that program evolved, and Sherry, please, let's keep the slides rolling. As that program evolved, what we found out was that it was a very quick journey from people living not knowing where their next meal would come from, feeling fear that their houses would be raided, that their safe houses would be raided, feeling afraid that their friends would be murdered in the street of Kenya or Kampala or Cape Town or Johannesburg. So what we started doing is we started supporting safe houses, refugee-led safe houses directly. We have safe houses that we support in Nairobi, safe houses we support in Kampala, like I said, in Cape Town and Guatemala City in Mexico City. And we're looking to increase that footprint of safe houses around the world. And part of the support that we provide, but besides monetary support and helping them find funding and PPE and emergency food and medical support, is the Dream Academy. And the goal of the Dream Academy is Josh. That is our paycheck. And these are a few members of graduates of the Dream Academy that have joined our staff. And there's such amazing, talented, just experience-rich people and that have so much to offer the world. And my personal surprise was just how quick a journey it was from marginalization to leadership. And I just want to give you a flavor of what the Dream Academy is like, just for a few minutes. So I'm going to roll a video for you.
My name is Tomas. I am a transgender man. I am a refugee.
I'm a trans refugee in South Africa.
The people here are really going through quite a lot of stuff.
That I wake up in the morning thinking about whether I'll be having 100 Kenya shillings to buy data. Life remains a struggle.
Some thieves broke into my house and they stole things of electronics. They stole every electronic that I had bought.
Somebody was attacking me, cyberbullying me, and saying stuff about me.
My group covered everything from torture to suicide to murder.
I want to live in a world that is kind and that is inclusive.
Be kind to them, love them, because that also heals them in a certain kind of way.
There have been so many chains, so now I'm here because I want to break those chains.
I want to break the chain of denial from the parents, from the society.
I'd like to invite us all to let go of attachment to a goal. Like we're on a journey.
Everybody together, just for us to.
Thank you, body. Thank you, body, and the differences in our beautiful bodies. Thanks you.
Thanks for being born. You did a great job at it.
Yeah.
I tried really hard.
You do a good job.
Thanks to everybody for being born.
One of the absolute most important words, which is trust.
You're already such a contribution and a gift just because you're showing up.
I know this place, I can feel love and I can feel support and I can break these chains then.
For all the people that have lived and died before us.
So I'm not going to pity you because you're not weak and you're not broken. Can I swear?
Yes, you can.
Fucking phenomenal. You're fucking phenomenal.
What I saw today was courage. What I saw today was compassion.
I've loved Dream Academy.
Dream Academy is out of this world.
We each have a civil rights leader that has inspired us, that's moved us, and that we know has changed the world. And my feeling today was that next civil rights leader is in this room.
My name is
Welcome back, everybody, and thank you for going on that journey with us. I think the thing that we keep realizing is exactly what CV and Celeste shared. These are our family. These are not other people. These are not in any way other. And these are such important employee assets, team member assets. They bring so much in terms of in experience, perspective, perseverance. So one of the things that we do, we try to work on the micro and macro level. So we've always been a boots on the ground organization with a lot of shelter and food and medical and job training stuff going on directly. But we also saw that we didn't want to just be patching people up that had been traumatized. So we wanted to be doing macro advocacy as well. So we've done 2 major studies, and we are now in the process of implementing those studies that are all based around what's the experience of an LGBTQIA person arriving in Europe? Who do they meet? What's the level of sensitivity? How are they treated? And so that's one level we're working, but really the basis of our work from the beginning has been partnership. And I just want to call out Steve and ORAM, because when we've responded to emergencies like the fire in Moria, we didn't even have to ask. ORAM stepped right up and was right there fundraising for us and helping us out and backing us up. And so was Rainbow Railroad. And this is the basis of protection. We work closely with all of our partners, and we have full spectrum relationships with all of our partners. And they're there for us when we need help, when we're on the front lines and providing emergency relief. We don't have to worry that the bank account is low because we know it's going to be Levi's, it's going to be ORAM, it's going to be Rainbow Railroad, it's going to be the Hilton Foundation. Someone is going to show up and have our back. And we are so, so grateful for that. These are some of our community members in our shelter houses and some of the projects we do with queer families. So let's keep the slides rolling because I want to stay on time with everybody. Just want to say that a part of stabilization is making sure that people have coats. And one thing that refugees often have to contend with is having donated clothes that they didn't pick, that's not their size. And if you've lost your house, you've lost your country, and maybe your family has been murdered when you were outed, the small pleasure and dignity that you can have is to have a new item of clothing that you pick out that fits you. And that might be the only thing that you have. And Tomboy X, Levi's, Patagonia, Birkenstock, and many others have allowed us to have that. The Tupac Shakur Foundation was there when COVID happened to give us tablets for all of our members so that they could stay connected. Blue Ground was there to make our shelter homes feel like homes, donating furniture, pillows, couches, all those things. Let's keep going with the, yeah, so this is our community center, and it's a home, and we're just starting to be able to use it again, which we love. I'm in Greece now, so we'll be doing workshops, COVID safe workshops with all of our members, and it's a lot of hands-on. We've done everything from bringing theater directors in to doing meditation. We do regular language classes. We do tons of job skill stuff. Like I said, we're a very hands-on community. We're a very deeply related community. It's happened before in the community center, and it's been happening on Zoom, and now we're coming back to the community center. Let's hope that stays the same. As you saw with the clip from Dream Academy, it takes all of our partners. Salesforce has been an amazing partner from the beginning. We're so glad that the other organizations are utilizing them as well. IBM is a great content partner. Google has been a great training partner. The Be the Change movement is doing social emotional learning work for 35 years with over 1 million people. And we have a whole training team just to work on leadership training and social emotional learning. So there's lots of ways to play with us. And we just wanted to give you a little taste of some of the ways that our collaborators work with us. So let's cut right to that video because I want to keep people on time as much as we can.
Collaboration is the DNA of Safe Place, and it's how we're able to do all we do.
I've been working with a Dream Academy and Safe Place International for a few years now, and I'm constantly impressed by the beauty, the motivation, the drive that all of these people have. Thank you so much for letting me support you all, and keep doing the great work because you're all amazing people. Thanks much.
The people that you are supporting don't have other supports, and you show and create community that people need in order to be empowered and inspired to do the work for others.
We found turn them into some of the most loving and resilient and powerful leaders I have ever had the opportunity of training or working with in my 40 years of training leaders around the world.
I thought I needed to change. I needed to travel. I needed to be a speaker. I needed to do something really phenomenal to be making a difference in the world. And I thought, no, I'm really good at my job. Like, I'll just stay doing what I'm doing and then just take some of the revenue from it and help organizations like your organization. I want to challenge all business people to do that, is to take a little bit of your time and effort and say, stay good at what you're good at. Keep doing that. Atlantis, keep singing. I'll keep doing mortgages. Great. We won't switch jobs or we're going to be in trouble.
We at Sparkle are so pleased to be a supporter and a partner of Safe Place all these years. It's part of our mission here to support children and families around the world, to support diversity around the world.
The first time I heard about Safe Place International from Justin, I knew we wanted to get behind his efforts. And to this day, it makes us and our team super excited to get back videos from people around the world who are happy to get a care package that we're able to send.
While we know there's still a lot of work to be done, in particular providing safe haven for all of our queer family around the world.
It's truly an honor and a privilege to be invited to join the board of Safe Place International at such a pivotal moment in time. The work of Safe Place International is so important and near to my heart because I believe it's every person's basic human right to be their true, authentic selves.
Rotary is committed to supporting the LGBTQI+ refugees of color at Safe Place. We believe in human rights, inclusion, diversity, and are committed to raising awareness by giving these marginalized communities a voice and provide them with a leg to stand on so they can be successful in starting their new lives. Working together and growing our relationship, we'll be able to change the narrative for refugees seeking a better life.
And just know that whether it's somatic or psychotherapeutic or financial or spiritual or just showing up in your unique way, it's the perfect way to show up. And we invite you to continue to reach out to Justin, reach out to Safe Place International with any ideas you might have or ways that you might want to serve.
And whether we're working with Alanis Morissette or a university or a company, what we always want is a full spectrum relationship. There's lots of ways we can engage. Of course, as Steve said, we always need money. We're always out of money and we always want to do more. And the money goes directly to the communities. We are largely a volunteer organization. I am definitely a volunteer. Internal education and skills building. Many of our partners are developing in-company programs for skills building, and they're including refugees. We love that. Amazon, we're talking to them about that. IBM already has that going. Salesforce is doing that in a big way. That's fantastic. We love to have speakers come to the Dream Academy, and it's a life-changing experience. When people from the HR department come and say, we see you, we hear you, and we want you. What a message to counter all the other messages that our community has had to endure and all the violence they've had to endure. So please come and engage directly with our community. We have Zoom. Let's use it in that way. In-kind donations, we need tablets so badly. We want to go from 140 Dream Academy graduates to over 600. The only barrier is tablets. So if any of you out there have tablets or know where to get laptops, please reach out to us. Yeah, like I said before, we love speakers and experts to come and talk to our community members. We love to support refugee-led social impact projects, just like ORAM. We've supported 5 projects, and as you saw on the earlier slide, we've hired 5 community members onto our staff. We want to hire 25 to 30 more in 2022 because representation has to happen. That is the way that change happens. We want our community members in decision-making leadership positions. That's how things change. So with that, I'd love to introduce Peter Lewin. The love of our lives is Levi Strauss. They've been fighting for our community since the 80s. They were the first company to unconditionally cover HIV, even when no one knew what it was. And they have been such a beautiful, generous, incredible partner on every level. I'm going to give it to you, Peter.
Hi, my name is Peter Lewin. I am responsible for global direct-to-consumer strategy, growth and investment, global membership. And I am the executive sponsor for Unlabeled, which is the European LGBTQ+ ERG at Levi Strauss. I've been involved with Safe Place International for 3 years or so. At the very inception of our institutional relationship, Levi's institutional relationship with Safe Place. And what began as a product donation around Christmas time a couple of years ago has evolved into a really engaging and compelling set of experiences, which can include product donation or monetary philanthropic donations, or indeed engaging directly with the people that Safe Place supports through the Dream Academy. And at multiple levels of the organization, both corporate and much more local through our organization in Athens. And the thing that I would say characterizes all of those interactions has been the sense of engagement and gratitude from our people in being able to support Safe Place and their important work. as well as the gratitude of the folks that Safe Place supports towards our donations. We've been engaged with the refugee community and supporting them in Europe for some time. And we've been engaged in supporting the LGBTQ community from, I think it's as far back as the 1980s in the US and then also in Europe. And so the topic that we were aware of going into the relationship with Safe Place was, how refugees are already so marginalized by society, how difficult it is for them to reintegrate themselves. To say that it's tricky would be a radical understatement of how complex and difficult it can be in some of these countries. So you have people who are dealing with that on the one hand, and then on the other, you also have LGBTQ plus people who would have been deeply marginalized in their home countries, and then in camps would have been at risk of even more abuse, and have again a difficult time integrating into European society, which let's be very candid, in some countries is very welcoming of LGBTQ people, and of others, in others it's not. So we were aware as an organization of the tremendous difficulty facing this community. So when we learned of Safe Place International, it seemed like a very natural place for us to engage and to try to help make a difference. And the results that I saw internally from that engagement were spectacular. When I joined Levi's, it struck me as a place that really stands out because of the passion its people take for really making a difference in the world, a positive difference in terms of helping others. And when we organized that first product donation, that's a difficult thing to do. You've got to think about the logistics of getting the product from wherever it's existing, whether it's in our warehouses or someplace else, and then onto a relatively bespoke delivery route to bring the products directly to Safe Place. It's a lot of work above and beyond a person's day job. And what surprised me is, here we were in the run up to Christmas when most people are dialing down their efforts. And I received, after I was aware that the product had gone out, I received an email from one of the people who was central to this. And in her email, she said, "Thank you for giving me the opportunity to make a difference." And I was speechless, honestly, to see that level of joy from our people in contributing to a cause like this. And it's continued, whether it's been local fundraising nominated or coordinated by our Athens team, or participating directly with the refugees, the LGBTQ plus refugees, or LGBTQ people still in Africa or in the Middle East, through the Dream Academy. That level of engagement and discourse really contributes to our sense of community internally, and honestly, contributes to the joy of coming to work every day. And I know it sounds like I might be, drinking the Kool-Aid a little much, but it really, really does make a difference. And in my case, I participated in the Dream Academy with some of my colleagues who were helping to equip these wonderful people with the ability to dream of a better future for themselves, and the tenacity to go after it, and the tactical skills of how to build a CV and succeed in an interview, just as much as where to find the confidence in yourself to drive towards the person that that you can be, even if society tells you that you can't. And so
Unfortunately, we've got to cut Peter short, but on behalf of all of us, thank you so much for hanging with us through the technical difficulties and getting the heartfelt message that Stephen and I and the team are bringing you, which is these people matter, they're talented, they're amazing, and if you met them, you would completely fall in love with them, as you did Josh today.
Exactly. And thank you all for sticking with us. We know we ran over. We love that so many of you stuck around, and a lot of you are asking how you can engage. On the Files tab, there is a great document that has some ideas, engagement opportunities, as well as our contact info. And please reach out to Justin and me directly, and we'd be happy to talk through ideas and share resources, what have you. So thank you again. Really a pleasure to be here with you all. We really appreciate it.
We can't wait to run around a hotel with you next year. No more virtual.
Yay. Yay. Sounds good.
Love
Thanks,
you guys.
Thanks, team. Bye.